Hey there folks, and welcome to the third video for Chapter 9, Patterns of Inheritance. I think you folks are probably going to like this video. It's going to be a short one. Most of the chromosomes in our bodies are autosomes. That is, they are chromosomes that carry genes that are concerned with running our bodies, making sure that our organs function and that our bones are shaped the way they're supposed to be. Basic maintenance and day-to-day care. Not so for that last pair of chromosomes that we have. Those are our sex chromosomes. And along with some other things, they help determine what sex an individual is. Now, in mammals, like us, most females are XX. That is, they have two copies of the X chromosome, and most males are XY. But this is not the way it works for everybody else. Plants have got their own system. They can handle things no animal can even consider. In birds, it's the female that's got different sex chromosomes and the male that's got a pair that are the same. They're ZZ versus ZW. Reptiles, amphibians, fish, all different kinds of insects and other invertebrates, everybody has a different system. All right, keep this in mind. It's not X and Y for everyone. It gets much more complicated than that. Seriously. Plants are awesome. We couldn't get anywhere near that. Here's the other thing about sex and chromosomes, though. Determining sex isn't the only thing they do. Just like every other chromosome in your DNA, they're carrying information. They are carrying genes. Some contribute to traits, phenotypes, that only occur because of genes in the genotype that exist on our sex chromosomes. These are called sex-linked genes because the genes in the genotype for a trait only occur on a specific version of the sex chromosome. Usually, in the mammalian case, usually the X chromosome. Here's a couple of quick examples. Color blindness is a sex-linked trait. It occurs only on the X chromosome. What this means is men are actually much more likely to be colorblind than women are. There's a photo right down there on the lower right of what it is like to be red-green colorblind and not be able to see the difference. Where someone with normal color vision sees a rich, vivid display of fresh fruit, all those reds and yellows and greens. For someone who is colorblind, it's a much more brown, gray, muted world. Because women receive two copies of the X chromosome most of the time, they have two opportunities to get a dominant allele for color vision, which lets them see normally. It's the recessive trait, the recessive allele, that confers color blindness. Because men usually only have one copy of the X chromosome, if they get a recessive allele for color blindness, that's the one they're stuck with. So that's the one their bodies end up using, and they become colorblind. Is it possible for women to be colorblind? Yes, it is. But they'd have to be homozygous recessive with two copies of the recessive colorblindness allele and nothing to cover it up. However, it's also very easy for women to be a carrier of colorblindness, to be heterozygous, to have the dominant allele for color vision and therefore see color normally, but also be carrying that recessive allele for colorblindness in her DNA and be able to pass it down to her children. Another example of a sex-linked trait is the calico and tortoiseshell coats in cats. Again, these are coat qualities that are carried on the X chromosome. But because this is a place where gene expression overlaps with codominance, female cats are the only cats that are able, usually, to have calico or tortoiseshell coats because they need to carry multiple alleles for different coat colors. And when the coat color allele only occurs on the X chromosome, the only way an individual cat gets multiple copies is to be female. At that point, they can be expressed at the same time in separate places. And you see the distinctive patterning that we get. That cat at the top, by the way, that's a calico. Because the Y chromosome behaves the way it does, and the only way for a human male to get a copy of the Y chromosome is for it to be passed down to him, inherited directly from his father, and his father before him, and his father before him. The Y chromosome is a way for geneticists to look back in time, and they can trace back long family trees based on the degree of change and the behavior of the Y chromosome in a family line. It's so consistent that geneticists and historians have actually been able to get together and figure out just how many people in a population may be descended from someone fabulously famous like Genghis Khan or King Henry VIII. You let several hundred years go by and these two guys have many, many descendants. However, also because of the straight line of inheritance from father to son over hundreds and even thousands of years, studying how the Y chromosome has changed and where individuals that have it and the same version of it have moved to can also help geneticists answer some questions about human evolution and how much we're changing over time. All right, folks, this is going to wrap it up for Chapter 9. You made it. We handled genetics. Yes, genetics gets much more complicated from here on out, but that is a discussion for another day. In the meantime, I'll see you later, folks. Bye.